Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back, everyone. It's good to see you. We have some people in the YouTube chat. We had sort of a minor glitch just before we came on the air, and the YouTube feed was lost. So we had to reestablish a different stream to a different broadcast on YouTube. So hopefully everybody finds us. It looks like everybody's moved over. So thank you for that. And sorry for the inconvenience. Lots going on. We'll talk about Trump's plan to turn Gaza into a resort-style Riviera utopia vacation slash place for the whole world to live, except for Palestinians. It's weird, but who knows? Maybe weird is what we need. You can join the conversation tonight, I think. We are going to try a different phone system tonight to see how it works. And what you have to do is dial the number. Then you have to dial a PIN number, which I'll put on the screen for people to see, to enter the broadcast. And hopefully it works out. We've tried it before and people were a little confused, but tonight I'm just going to provide maybe clearer instructions, and that might help. And if we can do it this way, it will do two things. It will be a little bit more cost effective than the old phone-in system, which worked really well but was extremely expensive. And it'll also improve the quality, I think. So we'll see how it goes tonight. It might fall apart. So if this turns into a train wreck, I apologize in advance. Trudeau is going to host a trade summit this Friday. And what else do we have going on? Oh, election stuff, pre-election stuff, election stuff in Ontario, and pre-election stuff as the Liberals continue their quest for a new leader to replace Trudeau. So stay with me. Lots and lots of stuff to talk about tonight. And you get to join the conversation as long as you can figure out how to dial all the numbers. So get those dialing fingers ready. Here we go.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
I also forgot to mention that my dad will join us later in the broadcast too, with some jokes, which he did before. People liked them. If you may not remember, maybe you do, but he's coming back for an encore performance tonight. Bad dad jokes later on. You know, that makes me think of Ronald Reagan, actually. I was just thinking the other day, I posted this old clip of Ronald Reagan talking about his take on tariffs and trade wars. You can find that clip on Twitter/X, whatever. But I was thinking while I was producing that, Ronald Reagan was really a father figure for America. He really was. He was an actor, kind of like Donald Trump, only he was smoother and I think a little more, well, really a lot more sophisticated. And he was, I don't know, I think he was overall a good president. And there was some wisdom there and a lot of pragmatism, conservative. And I know the people on the left of the day really lost their minds when Ronald Reagan was first elected. Kind of, sorta, kinda like what's going on with Trump right now, but not entirely. What's going on with Trump is there's real mania on both sides. Today, triggering a lot of people with his signing of an order banning men in women's sports. Let's go to the White House and pick up Trump's remarks on men in no more men in women's sports. Here we go. Here we go to the White House. Thank you, everybody.
Should have been done long ago, actually. Thank you. Thank you very much. With my action this afternoon, we're putting every school receiving taxpayer dollars on notice that if you let men take over women's sports teams or invade your locker rooms, you will be investigated for violations of Title IX and risk your federal funding. There will be no federal funding. So this will effectively end the attack on female athletes at public K-12 schools and virtually all U.S. colleges and universities. I don't think we've missed anything, but if we do, we'll make it up very quickly with an order, and I don't think we will at all. I want to, before we go on, I want to thank so many people that have worked so hard in the political establishment, and they're before me largely, and I think I'm going to miss a few. It always happens when you do this, but it's just one of those things. But we have many senators here, many governors here, many state attorneys generals here. They're all over the place, actually, I see. Some of them went after me, but they failed. And they're really friends, and they're friends of women's sports, that I can tell you. So Senator Marsha Blackburn, where's Marsha? Hi. Senator Katie Britt. Thank you, Katie. Mike Lee, where's Mike? Mike. I love his new haircut. I love that haircut, Mike. He just said the hell with it, right? I think you look great. Senator Cynthia Loomis. Cynthia, where are you? Cynthia, hi, Cynthia. Doing a good job. And Roger Marshall. Thank you, Roger. Great. Mark Wayne Mullen, Oklahoma. I love Oklahoma. I don't know what it is, Oklahoma. I won 77 out of 77 counties. It's never been done. Second was Ronald Reagan, 56, right? Yeah. And Tommy Tuberville, a great coach. You know, his quarterback was named Mahomes. He was a great college coach. And I said, how good was he? He said, you don't want to know how good. He made me into a great coach. He's pretty good quarterback, right? Yeah, he was very good. is a good guy, too. Also, governors, we have Governor Glenn Youngkin, Virginia. Thank you, Glenn. Good job. Bill Lee of Tennessee. Bill, thank you. Jeff Landry, Louisiana. Thank you, Jeff. Kim Reynolds of Iowa. Thank you. We're trying to move, education back to the states. You do know that. We're making a big move, and we're counting on Linda McMahon. Linda McMahon. And sitting next to you is the new Star is Born. Caroline, congratulations. You've done great. New star. Star is Born. Patrick Morrissey. Patrick, congratulations. Great race. A great friend of mine, and he's really helped us at the border, done a great job, of Texas, Greg Abbott. Thank you, Greg. Jim Pillen, where are you? Jim, very good. Very good. Are you feeling good? He had a bad fall. You doing all right, huh? Good. You look great. Brad Little. Brad, thank you, Brad. Good job. Good job. Do you like education going back to your state? You'll make it top, right? Just so people understand, in the education world, we're ranked very, very poorly. We're 38, 39, and 40 out of 40 countries. We're at the bottom of the pack almost always, or very close to it. That just came out. We're 40 out of 40. And if we move it back to the states, I will guarantee you that if you take Idaho, you take Iowa, you take almost any of the states that I'm looking at right now, they'll be as good as Norway. You have Sweden, you have Denmark. I must say you have China that's very high in the pack, which is no longer, we can say it has to be a small area. China is very big, but they do a very good job. But we'll have at least 35 of our states that will be as good or better than any of those countries, and we have to get it done. Attorney General Steve Marshall. Steve, thank you very much. Steve, wherever you may be. General Tim Griffin. Thank you. Thank you. A person who was so wonderful. Brenna Bird, where are you? Brenna Bird. Thank you. She supported me before people wanted to support me, right, Brenna? Wow. Thank you very much. I appreciated it. Andrew Bailey, great job. Where's Andrew? Great. Stand up, Andrew. One of the great attorney generals. Thank you very much. One of the greats, really. And Jason Miyares. Thanks, Jason. And now we get back to our members of Congress, and we'll go quickly, but it's a great group of people. Steve Scalise is right in front here. What a brave guy Steve is. Steve went through a lot, and he proved one thing to me, only one thing, that his wife loved him. His wife loves him because I went to the hospital that night, and he was not given even a shot, right, Mike? And I was with him, and I was with his wife, and she was devastated. She was really devastated. And I've been to, similar situations, not quite as bad, but the wives were not so devastated. And I can tell you that great wife of yours loves you. So anyway, and what you've done is incredible. The way you've come back, it's you look better now than you did before it happened. But nobody wants to go through that. Yeah, it's amazing. Tom Emmer doing a fantastic job. Thank you, Tom. Great job. Lisa McLean. Lisa?
And we're going to jump out of this for a moment while he says all his thank yous and acknowledgments and blah, blah, blah. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back. Hang on.
Maverick News. Expose lies and tell truth. The world is watching.
Little things like that. It'll all happen.
Okay, we're back.
But Marco is going to make clear to the International Olympic Committees there, and he's going to make it as clear as anybody can make it, that America categorically rejects transgender lunacy. We want them to change everything having to do with the Olympics and having to do with this absolutely ridiculous subject that we even have to talk about this subject. If you went back 10 years or 15 years and you would move forward and listen to this, you'd say, what the hell are they talking about? This is impossible. But you have people out there, Democrats, that are still totally in favor. They can't win the argument. They can't win a debate. They look like fools, and they continue to go on. And it's okay, because as long as they do this and open borders and all of the other things they talk about, transgender everything, all they want to do is transgender and men playing in women's sports and all of these crazy things. And if they continue, I think we're going to end up ultimately, it's not going to matter because we're never going to go along with them, and we're just going to keep winning elections, right, Mike? So when the Olympics comes to Los Angeles, I was responsible for getting the Olympics, and I said, oh boy, this is terrible because I got the Olympics and I won't be president. And then what happened is that in election, strange things happened in an election. So I missed 4 years, and now I have the Olympics. It was sort of circuitous. It was a circuitous situation. And we also have the World Cup coming, which is going to be fantastic. And we have, as you know, very importantly, 250 years coming. That's a big one next year, so that's a very big one. But in Los Angeles in 2028, my administration will not stand by and watch men beat and batter female athletes, and we're just not going to let it happen, and it's going to end, and it's ending right now, and nobody's going to be able to do a damn thing about it, because when I speak, we speak with authority. And for the same reason, just to make sure, I'm also directing our Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, who's also doing she's out there with you, Greg, a fantastic job. She's unbelievable. I was watching her riding yesterday on a horse. She was as good as anybody. She's very good. To deny any and all visa applications made by men attempting to fraudulently enter the United States while identifying themselves as women athletes, try and get into the games maybe where they are unable to get into the games. We're honored to be joined today by many incredible advocates for women's sports, including the brave swimmer at the forefront of this battle. And Riley Gaines is a person that I've been watching. She fought hard. Riley was a 12-time All-American. Well, that's pretty good. 12-time All-American who sacrificed countless hours in the pool just for a chance at the title. It's so important to her. She gave up everything and just gave everything she had. But then the league forced her to share a spot on the podium with a male swimmer who took her trophy while the media celebrated this stolen glory. And Riley is just a tremendous athlete, and it was a very unfair situation. I watched it. A lot of people watched it. It was ridiculous, frankly. But I want to thank Riley. She really has been in the forefront. People that aren't that well versed in this would say that she was the leader. And great job, Riley. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. And also with us is another.
Okay, so that's done. We'll see how that goes. And then, there's still fallout today from Trump's remarks last night talking about clearing out Gaza. Says he wants to move over between 1 million and 2 million Palestinians out of Gaza and turn it into the Middle Eastern equivalent of the Riviera, where people from the world can live, except for the Palestinians. And it's not, predictably, a lot of people are upset. So, and you can call in tonight and talk about that if you would like to. We have the phone system set up, so I'm interested in what you guys have to say about it. It's the most unusual thing I've heard in a long time. You know, he says that Gaza has been devastated. It's basically a pile of rubble, and the Palestinians should just move on, and the U.S. should own it. Own it. Here's the clip from last night, and then we'll show you what his new press secretary had to say about it today.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it.
Okay. I didn't see that one coming. I don't remember him saying that during the campaign. Does that comply with international law? Does it respect anyone's sovereignty? Benjamin Netanyahu, I guess he's saying, oh, maybe it's something we could look at. Marco Rubio, his Secretary of State, saying, yeah, okay, let's, I'm down with that. What could go wrong? I think a lot. I think a lot could go wrong with that. His press secretary today having her feet held to the fire on this one. And here's what Levitt had to say.
You here today?
Thank you. On Gaza, the president has spent basically his entire public career criticizing foreign entanglements, nation building, sending American troops to fight abroad, particularly in the Middle East. This plan seems like it could ultimately involve all of those things. Can you explain this reversal and how building and owning Gaza squares with America First foreign policy?
I would reject the premise of your question that this forces the United States to be entangled in conflicts abroad. The president has not committed to putting boots on the ground in Gaza. He has also said that the United States is not going to pay for the rebuilding of Gaza. His administration is going to work with our partners in the region to reconstruct this region. And let me just take a step back here, because this is an out-of-the-box idea. That's who President Trump is. That's why the American people elected him. And his goal is lasting peace in the Middle East for all people in the region. And as I said in my opening remarks, we've had the same people pushing the same solutions to this problem for decades. And it's been made very clear to the president that the United States needs to be involved in this rebuilding effort to ensure stability in the region for all people. But that does not mean boots on the ground in Gaza. It does not mean American taxpayers will be funding this effort. It means Donald Trump, who is the best deal maker on the planet, is going to strike a deal with our partners in the region.
He did not rule out American troops in Gaza last night. Are you doing that now?
I am saying that the president has not committed to that just yet. He has not made that commitment, and you know that.
And on the foreign partners, the Jordanians, the Egyptians, the Saudis have already panned this plan. What foreign partners, if any, have expressed any interest in being part of it?
Well, the president has said he's been socialing this idea for quite some time. He's been thinking about this. He said in his remarks last night, this was not a decision or an announcement that he takes lightly. And the president has already spoken to the President al-Sisi. In fact, that was his first foreign leader call. He's meeting with the King of Jordan, King Abdullah, next week. He spoke with the King of Bahrain. He spoke with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. And he has made it very clear. He's been very vocal vocal that he expects our partners in the region, particularly Egypt and Jordan, to accept Palestinian refugees temporarily so that we can rebuild their home. I'd like to show you some images of Gaza that were taken. Fox News aired this. I mean, that is, as they put it, in an apocalyptic scene in Gaza. This is an uninhabitable place for human beings. Do you really think that families can live their dream in a region that looks like this, with no running water, no electricity? And the special envoy to the president, Steve Witkoff, recently traveled to Gaza, as you all know. And he came back with images that he showed the president of the dire situation here. And the president made this decision with a humanitarian heart for all people in the region. Peter.
Thank you, Caroline.
Pour ceux qui construisent.
Let's go back here. This is pretty good too. Peter Ducey, his exchange here. Here we go. Hang on. Get this one with Peter Ducey asking if there's going to be fighting in the streets.
Can live their dream.
Hang on, we're going to
in a
go back. I
region that looks like
backtracked on this.
No running water.
This is
no
pretty good, this
electricity.
exchange.
And the special
Coming
envoy
up.
to the president, Steve Witkoff, recently traveled to Gaza, as you all know. And he came back with images
Sit
that
tight,
he
it's
showed the
coming.
president of the dire situation here. And the president made this decision with a humanitarian heart for all people in the region. Peter.
Thank you, Caroline. Are any officials here preparing to fight Democratic lawmakers in the streets?
Absolutely not.
So
And thanks for the question.
Some elected Democrats are so steamed about Doge. Congresswoman LaMonica McIver says we are at war. Ilhan Omar says we might actually see somebody get killed. And Chris Van Hollen says we have to fight this in the Congress. We have to fight this in the streets. So what now?
And may I just point out, if you heard that type of violent, enticing rhetoric from our side of the aisle, from Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, I think there would be a lot more outrage in this room today. It's unacceptable, the comments that have been made by these Democrat leaders, and frankly, they don't even know what they're talking about. Because President Trump was elected with a mandate from the American people to make this government more efficient. He campaigned across this country with Elon Musk, vowing that Elon was going to head up the Department of Government Efficiency, and the two of them, with a great team around them, were going to look at the receipts of this federal government and ensure it's accountable to American taxpayers. That's all that is happening here. And for Democrat officials to incite violence and encourage Americans to take to the streets is incredibly alarming, and they should be held accountable for that rhetoric.
It sounds like something that they're most concerned about is Doge engineers with access to Treasury systems. Can you clarify, do the Doge engineers have read-only access
Yes.
in these systems, so they are not allowed to write new code?
No.
They are not, okay.
No.
And then one more thing. NBC is reporting that some of the illegal immigrants that we've seen rounded up and arrested are not being deported. They're being released with ankle or wrist monitoring devices, or they have to check in on the phone. So is the administration arresting more people than you have room for?
I have seen the reports, and I'm glad you brought it up because we want to address it. There have been a total of 461 illegal aliens. This is of this morning when I got this information from DHS that have been released from custody of the more than 8,000 that have been arrested since President Trump was inaugurated. It's less than 6%. And there are reasons for their release. Some of the factors include a lack of significant likelihood of removal in the foreseeable future, lack of detention availability, which is something this president and this administration has been incredibly vocal about. We are doing everything we can to deport and detain illegal immigrants, but we need Congress's help to increase funding for Border Patrol and for ICE to increase detention capability in our facilities. And then other serious medical conditions have also been the reasons for some of the release of these individuals. But none of them have final deportation orders. Many of them are probably contesting their immigration status. I'd refer you to DHS for more details, but I did get that information because I knew it'd be a question, so thank you. Sure. Yes.
Yeah, she saw that one coming.
And you here again today have made clear, given the devastation, you think Palestinians have no choice but to leave Gaza and go elsewhere. But Palestinians say this is their home. They don't want to go. The president last night said he's willing to use the military if necessary. Is the U.S. prepared to remove Palestinians from Gaza by force?
The president is prepared to rebuild Gaza for Palestinians and all people in the region, peace-loving people who want real economic development and opportunity in the region. This is a region that has been controlled by Iranian-backed terrorists, Hamas, who have brutalized not just Israelis but Palestinians too. It is because of Hamas that you see those images on that screen, that Gaza has become a demolition site because Hamas launched that brutal attack on Israel on October the 7th. And so again, I would stress, President Trump wants to ensure that this can be a place where all people can live in peace. He is a peacemaker in chief. He made that very clear in his first term. And as for how that will be accomplished, the president and his team are talking with our allies in the region to consider next steps.
But should the American people be prepared to see U.S. military on the ground fighting a ground war against Hamas?
Again, the president has not committed to U.S. troops in the region.
But it is an option.
I have said that the president has not committed to that yet.
Yet.
Let me just follow up on that, though. Why not rule out the idea of committing U.S. troops? This has been a long-standing argument that the president has made really over the last decade or so, talking about endless wars and not something the U.S. wants. Why not rule out?
Because I think the president is very good when he's making deals and negotiating not to rule out anything because he wants to preserve that leverage in negotiations. And so I think that's what he's doing here.
If I
Mary.
can follow up on that, though, he also said that everyone loves this plan. He said that in the Oval Office this morning. In fact, the Deputy Prime Minister Gordon called it a declaration of war on the Arab people. So how does he square the fact that even some Republicans on the Hill are objecting to this or questioning this? How does he square the fact saying everyone loves this plan?
Well, King Abdullah of Jordan will be here next week, so I can provide you more context on the conversations he will have directly with the President of the United States after that meeting. And I would just point out that there's been a lot of leaders and officials all around the world who have doubted, I suppose, the deal-making ability of President Trump. You heard the Panama leader saying that he would not agree to some of the concessions that he has now made because of Secretary Rubio's visit. You had the Colombian president saying he wouldn't accept flights of Colombian illegal nationals who have entered into our country illegally, and those flights are underway. So actions speak louder than words. Dasha.
Caroline, you said the president has been working on this idea for a while behind the scenes now. Is there a written plan based on the president's proposal for Gaza? And if so, when was it drafted and who had a hand in that?
The plan was written in the president's remarks last night as he revealed it to the world and to the American people, and his team are continuing to be engaged on this effort. I saw the National Security Advisor this morning. He has a very busy day of calls, and they will, again, continue to engage with our partners. That includes Steve Witkoff as well. Mary.
Two questions for you on the news of the day. So how is today's executive order going to impact the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles? For example, would a man who thinks that he's a transgender woman be allowed to compete as a female on U.S. soil?
It's a very good question, and the president has actually mentioned this, that he does expect the Olympic Committee and the NCAA to no longer allow men to compete in women's sports. And I think the president, with the signing of his pen, starts a very public pressure campaign on these organizations to do the right thing for women and for girls across the country. Again, this is an incredibly popular position. There have been many notable female athletes who have had the courage to speak out against some very powerful institutions in this country. They deserve to have a voice and a say. The president is bringing their voice to the highest level at the White House this afternoon, and he expects these organizations to comply with this federal executive order that he'll be signing today.
Thank you. And one more. On media coverage of this executive order and the topic in general, what's the White House's view of framing that calls men transgender females or similar rhetoric coming from organizations like the ACLU and GLAAD?
If you find yourself walking...
Okay. I'm going to put the phone number up through the promo video so you know what number to call. If you want to join the conversation, you can be the first to try the new phone system simply by calling this number. Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-613-778-2684. Then enter the meeting number 367-312-888, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-613-778-2684. Then enter the meeting number 367-312-888, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-613-778-2684. Then enter the meeting number 367-312-888, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. Yeah, lots going on tonight. I don't think it's likely to go that smoothly. This whole Gaza plan with Trump, you couldn't pick a patch of land that is more volatile. It's the whole world is almost on fire because of Gaza. And he says now the United States is going to take it over. That's just an extension of what people have accused the U.S. and Israel of wanting to do for a long time. It just blows my mind. So it's not surprising to see. I would say this is sort of a piece of propaganda, but this is the response you can expect, only this is just the beginning of the response.
مرحبا عزيزي ترامب.
Says, Dear President of the United States, Mr. Trump.
رئيس الولايات المتحدة الأمريكية. معك
I'm the child Maria Hanoun from Gaza.
طفلة ماريا حنون من غزة. بدي أسألك
I want to ask you a question.
سؤال وبتمنى
And I hope it reaches you and you answer me.
يوصلك وتجاوبني. أنا كطفلة
As a child survivor of the Gaza war,
ناجية من حرب غزة. لو طلبت
if I asked you to leave your home
منك تخرج من بيتك ومن أرضك
and your land and live in Egypt or China,
وتعيش بمصر أو الصين, هلا
would you accept that?
توافق؟ أنا آسفة
I'm sorry for laughing, but in reality,
على ضحكتي, بس بالحقيقة
hang on just a moment. I've got a couple of people who want in to the program. I do. Hang on just a moment. I'll put you on. You're not on the air yet, but I'm just, let me finish this. They can hear me, but you can't hear them. Let me finish this clip with this little girl. You won't accept that. All right, if you yourself would refuse, why would you want to force me to accept for me to leave from my house and my land? Aren't you supposed to be the country of freedom in the world? Which freedom are you all talking about when you want to restrict us and our homeland and diaspora? Advice to the President of the world. You can control the whole world except for Gaza, because Gaza is the world. So, yeah, Mr. Trump, good luck. It's not going to go that smoothly. Okay, let's bring our callers up. Gentlemen and ladies, who do we have with us tonight?
Well, you got Lori down there. Oh, you got the good old Dragon.
Dragon, and who is it, Lori?
Lori, down in the Bahamas.
Well, Lori, you go ahead, sir. You go first. How are you tonight?
Well, I just got a couple of quick thoughts for you here tonight, Rick. And I would been thinking with everything that's been going on, especially with these tariffs, that maybe it's time for another convoy. And instead of parking up on Wellington, maybe this time around we could park the trucks down in front of the American Embassy on whatever street it is there in Ottawa.
Well, that's an interesting concept. What do you think?
I'm kind of hoping maybe you have your old connections there with Fat Pat the Burger King. and maybe he could get on there and organize it, and we could get this all started up again.
Well, I certainly, I wasn't an organizer. I don't really have a direct line to Mr. King, but I'm certain that a lot of people are listening tonight, and I don't think that Pat King would necessarily listen to me either. But I don't know that Pat King would. Here's the thing, though, Lori. I think that probably half the people in the freedom movement slash freedom convoy alumni or alumnus, I think they're probably on board with joining the U.S., so they're applauding Trump, a lot of them. So I don't think that they would be down for it, honestly.
Well, maybe we can do our own thing then. We'll have to figure something out. And I just had one more thought, and maybe people can run this one across their mind. Is that if the U.S. decide to hold the Olympics in Los Angeles, what would happen if nobody came?
Well, that's an interesting thing. I was thinking myself that it might be time for Canada to boycott the Olympics. Not that I hate to say that because I'm never comfortable with boycotting sporting events, which are not supposed to be political. But the Olympics has become very, very politicized over the years, and yeah, man, I don't like what's going on down there at all. Makes me very uncomfortable, uneasy. Scared even.
Okay, well, I'll let you go, Rick. Have a good night, and I hope you don't have to do too much shoveling.
Yeah, it's not so bad here, but I can't say that for the rest of Canada. And I envy you being down there in the Bahamas, sir. You have a great night.
Well, it is a MAGA-free alternative to Florida, so here we are.
All right. Thank you for calling in tonight. And Dragon,
good night.
Take care. And Dragon,
yeah.
What are you thinking?
Well, it doesn't look good, right? I mean, is he coming to take Gaza, or, I mean, the way he's speaking, and I'm not going to speak for that blondie girl that is the new press conference expert on the subject.
Yes.
I mean, they both have, I would say, I mean, if you analyze both what they say, both say complete different things. Trump say he's coming there with the troops, or, it's going to become the next Plaza, or I don't know. And then you got this lady that goes, no, we're just going to, reconstruct, would you let people live in that part of the world where it's, because, yeah, I mean, if it's for reconstruction, and if it's for the people of Gaza to come back there and live their life in a beautiful place, sure, I mean, go help reconstruct and give these people a life back. That's for sure. But if you have the intent of going there to invade basically this part of the world, I'm not a biblical guy, but I'm going to speak for Daniel here.
He said that the United States is going to own it. His words, you don't, that's, what right does the United States have
scary.
to own Gaza? And why would you want to? Why would you want to weigh into that? Like, why would you pull the United States into Gaza in an attempt to own it? You'll need to take it over. How do you take it? You're not just going to say to the people, that the Palestinians, okay, everybody out.
Yeah, that's my point.
We're going to build a resort here. You go to Egypt and Jordan and see ya, and then what? Then the United States, Trump turns it over to a bunch of real estate investors and developers, and they turn it into a resort / upscale Middle Eastern version of the new Dubai or something. I don't know. It's weird. It's really freaking weird. And there's no, and he's serious about this. The people are not going to go peacefully. You already have, it's been a hotbed for conflict, if you want to call it terrorism. if he proceeds with this on any level, it will not only result in conflict and more violence in the Middle East that will draw U.S. troops onto the ground, it will open the United States up for terrorist attacks on home soil, and like at a level that people are really fearful of. People talk about it, have been talking about it, but it's going to happen. You're just asking for it.
And I'm not that I want to preach for the pro-Palestinian or whatever, but if I can put myself into their shoes for a moment, they will say that the American are the one that did destroy their homeland, basically, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then you got the American coming there. Oh no, we're just coming here to reconstruct. Well, they'll go like, yeah, you're gonna do like Somalia, you're gonna do like the same that you did on the other part of the world also, and so on. So I mean, they will not look at it the same way, or it's gonna not be met with open arms, basically.
And the United States,
it's gonna be messed up.
This just opens the United States up to additional criticism of being a lapdog for Israel. That Netanyahu is really the boss, and this is just a way of putting a veneer on Israeli control of the Gaza Strip to clear out all the Palestinians so that you can have the greater Israel initially under U.S. control, but it's really Israel. And the United States has no right to that piece of land at all, period. So, and I don't even care if you try to buy it. People are not going to want it. It's not for sale. The last time I checked, this is the wackiest, craziest, weirdest plan. But hey, look at the state of it. How much worse can it get? Well, I suppose it could get a lot worse because it will spread. The violence, the pushback on it will spread way beyond Gaza. We're already kind of in a third world war, largely because of the ongoing, long-standing disputes and violence that have come out of that area. So this will just inflame things more. Crazy.
Yeah, well, to make a point with what you just said about the pro-Palestinian, and that's probably just me thinking, right?
Yeah.
You've seen me going on their protest, doing the report in front of the American embassy of West Montreal, right?
Yeah.
So
actually, I think that was that wasn't the U.S. embassy. That was the Israeli consulate, by the way, that they were at that night.
On West Mount?
I believe so, yeah.
Because there's the two just right in front of the others.
Oh, so
they are facing
they're juxtaposed,
each other.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, I see. All right.
So basically what you had this day, and I mean, they do basically protest and march through the embassy and stay there for a few hours, probably like every week. I mean, this is going to fuel up a lot of what's going on in every cities like Montreal, I'm sure.
Yeah. Well, pretty freaking weird. That's all I can say. Let's take a little break.
Yeah.
You guys can call into the show at 1-613-778-2684. And then, when prompted, just punch in the meeting PIN number, which is 367-312-888 pound. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Too late. Too late. Too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call 1-613-778-2684. Then enter the meeting number 367-312-888, followed by the pound sign. Exercise your right to free speech. Call 1-613-778-2684. Then enter the meeting number 367-312-888, followed by the pound sign. Call 1-613-778-2684. Then enter the meeting number 367-312-888, followed by the pound sign. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you.
You know, someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching. The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
So, the whole thing with the Trump tariffs continues to resonate. China, of course, announcing retaliatory tariffs. We'll see where that's all going. And then in Canada, we have this little bit of a pause going on for, well, I think we have 29 days now. Or 30? 28 or 29 days left until the next D-Day, Donald Day. Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, he called a snap election because of the pending Donald Trump tariffs on the campaign trail. Yesterday made headlines when he was caught on a hot mic talking about how he was originally happy that Donald Trump had won the election, and then he announced the tariffs, and now not so much. So I'm going to play you the clip, first of all, of what Doug Ford, the Premier of Ontario, had to say yesterday, and then we'll see, we'll show you what was said about it today. So the election day says 100% I was happy. Then the guy pulled out the knife. I'm going to play it again. It's hard to hear him. On election day I was happy this guy won. 100% I was. Then and pulled out the knife and yanked it into me. So he got caught. He said the F word. Oh, fuddle-duddle. That's what. Do you remember years ago, Pierre Trudeau used the F word, and when he was confronted by the media on it, it became a media furor for at least a week or so. Still, I remember that so vividly. And he said he didn't say the F word. He said fuddle-duddle. Anyway. Oh, politics. Oh, here, hang on. I got to put you up there, Dragon. Go ahead. Say that again. People couldn't hear you. You weren't on the screen.
I was saying that, well, I do remember the fuddle-duddle moment, and yeah, everyone was laughing at him everywhere, I mean, worldwide. You do remember that, I hope.
Yeah. Say fuddle-duddle again?
Fuddle-duddle.
Okay. Yeah, it was funny. I love your accent, man. You just cracked me up. You said it's funny. Okay, what else do we have going on here? So I want to show you Doug Ford's response today. Let me see here. I'll bring it up here this way. Okay, so there's that. I've got this back up here. Here we go. Scroll back up to the top because this is what he was saying today to clarify his statements.
You were furious during, just keeping on the Trump theme, you were furious during the pandemic when he was president and he cut off PPE for Canada, forcing us to make it here. And yet you still said on Monday to the firefighters that you supported him. What were you thinking?
Well, there's Trump 1.0 and then there was Trump 2.0. And I always believe in working together. I don't care what political stripe you come from. It doesn't matter if it was President Biden, President Obama, or President Trump. You have to work collaboratively with everyone across all political stripes, and that's exactly what we do.
Doesn't that make you look like a bit of a hypocrite, though? I mean, other than the tariff warning during the campaign and what he did with PPE, there was January 6th, there was the felony convictions, there was all the other things, the impeachments. What do you say to voters who think that maybe you've lost your moral compass?
Well, you know something, I don't think there's too many people that have stood up for Ontarians and Canadians like I have. I think I've been very clear where I stand. I stand for the people of Ontario, the people of Canada. We're going to continue leading the way. We're going to continue leading the way when we go down to Washington and talk to the Congress people and the senators and governors, leading the way on my multiple calls every single day, making sure that we promote Ontario jobs, Canadian jobs. That's what I'm going to do.
What do you make of that, Dragon? You think the Ontario Conservatives are going to be reelected?
I'm not sure about that. To be quite honest, it looks, yeah. Well, he's working hard on it, though. He did work on all that. And, I will be honest with you. Ford is not wrong. You should work all together. You should do things probably like, a teaming. You got to be teaming up together. But the thing is that nobody's teaming anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the...
kind of hard to say.
Hang on a second here. We've got today Mark Carney. He was on the campaign trail in quest. He's looking to become the next leader of the party, the Liberal Party to replace Trudeau. Today, he vowed to make sure Canada spends 2% of its GDP on military to meet its NATO commitments by 2030. Let me show you the clip here, folks. Dragon, I don't know if you'll be able to hear this. You may need to tune into it. Well, you know what? If I bring it up over here, you'll be able to hear it, so I'll share it with you over here. Here we go. Here's Mark Carney, or as Pierre Poilievre calls him, carbon tax Carney.
Une vie décente et abordable. Ils sont en quête pour les jeunes d'ici et leur
You'll get to
avenir.
English here in a moment.
Les Canadiens veulent que leurs enfants aient les mêmes chances qu'eux. Ils sont en quête que
And I know
l'équilibre en matière
Daniel Smith
d'immigration.
was Premier
Que les
of Alberta
Canadiens et les
calling for
Canadiennes veulent
an
un
election
pays juste.
again,
Autant pour ceux et celles
saying we need
qui
to have an
arrivent
election, we need
que
it right
pour
now.
ceux et celles qui sont déjà ici.
Well, at the same time, people are
Et ils
complaining about the
s'inquiètent.
election being held in
Face aux menaces de président Trump, allemand,
in Ontario. Hang on, let me get this. Okay, here we go.
a pragmatist. And so if I see something that's not working, I will change it. And that's why last week I proposed a new climate policy, eliminating the consumer carbon tax, having large polluters pay Canadians to make climate smart choices, and helping our countries leapfrog their American competitors in global markets. Canada needs more of this type of change. Change that puts money in people's pockets. Change that makes our companies more competitive. Change that builds the strongest economy in the G7. Now we face a very different world to one we've known all our lives. A world in which Americans have become more our neighbors than our good friends. And it can feel bewildering at first, but if we take control, it will be empowering. And here's how we do that. We need to distinguish between what we can't change, what we can influence, and what we can and must change to build an even better Canada. On doit comprendre ce que on ne peut pas changer. On ne peut pas changer le
Okay,
fait
let's get
qu'il y
past
a
the French again. Hang on a second. Hang on. Here we go.
Whether we can influence President Trump is debatable, but I think we can, if we listen to what Americans want and respond in ways that are best for Canada. However, we need to be crystal clear about our bottom lines. This proud country will never be part of the United States in any shape or form.
Hear, hear.
Nous devons comprendre.
Well, I don't know if that's true or not. It seems like people on the conservative, well, I wouldn't say the conservative side, the MAGA side of the political spectrum in Canada, they Dragon, I would say that some people do want to join the US of A. I am shocked and amazed, frankly. What are your thoughts? Are you
Yeah.
still there? Yeah.
Well, we're competing with people that wants to change everyone's constitution or bills of rights. So, like Trump, for example. So, and those powerful people, they like to entrench into others' territories, basically. So, it's the new imperialism taking forms, I think, in certain ways. What do you think?
I think we're going to go to Pierre Poilievre. That's what I think. We have Poilievre set up here. Let me bring up his clip. He was on the campaign trail today, talking about the border and
On va donner le feu vert au projet de ressources naturelles. On va permettre le libre-échange dans notre pays. On va rebâtir nos frontières et notre militaire pour protéger notre pays et notre économie. C'est comme ça qu'on va mettre le Canada d'abord. Merci beaucoup. Imagine if the town of Brandon were to vanish, that its 50,000 people suddenly died. That is the size and scope of the fentanyl overdose crisis in the last 9 years of the Carney-Trudeau Liberals. A small, beautiful city like Brandon has vanished from our lives. Since 2016, 50,000 Canadians have died of overdoses to opioids, 9 in 10 of whom have died as a result of fentanyl. More Canadians have died of opioid overdoses in the last 9 years than died fighting for Canada in the Second World War. They are real people. Brothers, sisters, sons, daughters, fathers, mothers, friends, and thousands more are still suffering. Countless of them are in homeless encampments, living in the hell of addiction and homelessness. It wasn't like this before Liberals radically liberalized drugs. We know what they did. They passed C-5 to allow traffickers to serve their sentences in their living rooms. They eliminated mandatory prison time. They opened up our ports and our borders. 99% of the shipping containers that enter our country, 99% of those shipping containers come in without any inspection at all after 9 years of the Carney-Trudeau Liberals. Super labs in Canada synthesize using precursor chemical ingredients that come into Canada from China and Mexico through our open border policy. But it's not happening. This is something that looks like an episode of Breaking Bad. But this is not happening in New Mexico in a TV drama. It is happening here in Canada, real life, right now. In November of 2024, police dismantled what they described as the largest, most sophisticated illicit drug super lab in the country in Falkland, British Columbia. One of the accused was out of jail after earlier convictions. Police said they seized 54 kilograms of fentanyl. Now, that might not seem like a lot until you realize that it just takes 2 milligrams to kill a human being. That means there was enough finished fentanyl to kill 27 million people. Police found enough ingredients to make enough fentanyl to kill 95 million people. That's twice the population of Canada. Police also found 390 kilograms of methamphetamine, small explosives, ammunition, silencers, high-capacity magazines, body armor, $500,000 in cash, and 89 firearms, many of which were, quote, loaded and ready to be used. Days earlier, police discovered a super lab in Langley, BC, that they say was capable of producing multiple kilograms of fentanyl on a weekly basis. A Government of Canada report confirmed, and I quote, seizures of Canada-sourced fentanyl in places like the U.S. and Australia suggest that the domestic production of fentanyl is likely exceeding the domestic demand and that Canada is now a source and transit country for fentanyl to some markets. The number of seizures of fentanyl at the Canada-U.S. border more than tripled between 2023 and 2024, rising from 239,000 doses to 839 doses. How did this happen? Well, the Carney-Trudeau Liberals happened. They legalized fentanyl possession here in British Columbia in partnership with the local radical NDP BC government. They passed C-5, which eliminated mandatory jail time and brought in house arrest, allowing fentanyl dealers to do their time in their living room while watching Netflix or playing Grand Theft Auto. The Falkland Super Lab that police discovered had ties to transnational criminal networks that span Mexico all the way to China. They are killing our people and many more in other countries, which is now endangering the trade with our closest ally. President Trump has threatened to tariff Canada because of what he says is lethal drug flows. But whether or not we agree with him should not matter. It should not take a foreign leader to get the Liberals to wake up to the drug crisis that they have caused here at home. It should have been enough that we lost 50,000 of our people. We should crack down on drugs, not to please President Trump, but to ensure that not one more mother has to bury her face in her hands on learning that her son died of an overdose in a back alley somewhere. We must stop drugs to save our people and put Canada first. It starts with locking up mass traffickers and manufacturers of this poison with penalties that fit the crime. But what is that crime? Let's call fentanyl trafficking what it is. Mass murder. Selling 40 milligrams of this poison is enough to kill 20 people. It's like spraying bullets into a crowd. You might not know who you're killing, but it's certain someone will die. That's why I'm denouncing today, as part of my Canada First plan, that common sense conservatives will bring mandatory prison sentences. There will be life sentences for anyone caught trafficking, producing, or exporting over 40 milligrams of fentanyl. 40 milligrams is enough to kill 20 people. Anyone who is involved in trafficking that amount of fentanyl will get a life sentence. We will lock them up and we will throw away the key. And 15 years for traffickers caught with between 20 milligrams and 40 milligrams will be the new mandatory sentence. The people we will lock away are not non-violent addicts. They are the victims. We will come to the rescue of victims and addicts. We will provide life-saving treatment. My message to anyone struggling with addiction today is have hope, hang on, help is on the way. My government will provide residential treatment. They will take people off the streets, provide them with detox, recovery, counseling, group therapy, sweat lodges for First Nations victims, and help them get into housing, a job, and back to their families. We will bring our loved ones home drug-free. Nor are we talking about the small-time dealer on a street corner, though he too will be punished. Rather, my law will go after the fentanyl kingpins who kill thousands of people each year. We will treat them like the mass murderers they are. We will bring home the country we knew and loved. After 9 years of the Carney-Trudeau Liberals, everything is broken. Housing costs have doubled. Food bank use has doubled. Gun crime has doubled. The national debt has doubled. All of this because Justin Trudeau was implementing the radical policies of carbon tax Carney. These policies have destroyed our working class, and now he threatens an even bigger carbon tax after a brief election pause, a tax that will drive hundreds of billions of dollars out of our country and continue the rising cost of living that the Carney Liberals have imposed over the last 9 years. The good news is, life was not like this before the Carney-Trudeau Liberals, and it won't be like this after they're gone. We're going to bring home the country we knew and loved. We're going to axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime. Most of all, we are going to put our country first. This will be a country where hard work pays off, where anyone from anywhere can do anything. That was the Canadian promise, and my purpose is to bring it home. Let's make this a country where anybody who works hard gets a powerful paycheck and pension that buys affordable food, gas, and homes in safe neighborhoods wrapped around the protective arms of strong borders under a proud flag for a united country, Canada. Let's bring it home.
Pierre Poilievre on the drug issue. Life sentences. That's what he's calling for in response to the now focused concerns about fentanyl addiction, fentanyl trafficking. The assertion, though, from Trump that Canada needs to secure the border to protect the United States, it's sort of the other way around. Because the fentanyl coming into Canada via Mexican drug cartels is coming through the United States into Canada. And while there is a small amount that goes back the other way, it's only a very, very, very small amount. The rest of it's actually flowing up into Canada. I was looking at the studies on this and doing some research over the last day. And Peter Navarro yesterday in the U.S. said that the Mexican drug cartels are becoming more entrenched in Canada and becoming a problem inside Canada. And then I began to think back to stories that I have covered over the years regarding Mexico, drug trafficking. And if I go back even 20, maybe 30 years ago, I remember covering stories down near the Windsor-Detroit border into the Leamington area, not far from the border. And back in those days, there was rising concern about a kind of a hidden problem with Mexican Mennonites who were very actively involved in the smuggling of drugs, more specifically marijuana, across the border back in those days into Canada. And police were and border guards, Canada Border Security Agency, was becoming more focused on that because the Mennonites, of course, coming across look very innocent. They're, people of faith, very, quiet, conservative in appearance, obviously, and not really likely to arouse much suspicion at the border. And yet they were among the most active smugglers for drugs, and in particular at the time marijuana. And then Poilievre is right when he says that the liberals have really kind of created this problem or exacerbated it, because I'll tell you why you're getting more fentanyl. One of the main reasons is because of the liberalized drug laws in Canada, particularly, and even the legalization of marijuana. And the reason for that is because organized crime, that the drug cartels have seen their profits diminish because there's less demand for the illegal drugs. There's less demand, or shall I say, for the illegally produced marijuana, because now you can buy that stuff legally. So it's much easier to get. You don't need to go into the black market to get it. It's just readily available now. So the drug dealers, the illegal drug traffickers, the drug cartels have diversified. They're responding to the market conditions, and they're producing other kinds of drugs. They're focusing on other illegal drugs where there's a steady demand and increased profits. In fact, fentanyl, because you can produce so much of it, like more potent batches in smaller concentrations, the profit margins are much greater with it, and there's increased incentive because of that alone, combined with the fact that now the marijuana market is basically gone. So they've just moved into other avenues, and you're getting much harder drugs out on the street and being pushed out into the communities by the illegal drug cartels and the dealers. And that's why you're seeing, in part, more of a drug problem with harder drugs, and especially fentanyl. It's one of the unintended consequences, I would say, of the liberalization of marijuana laws, and even other drug laws as well, but especially marijuana. If they're not going to make any money with marijuana, they'll sell something else, and they'll push something else, and that's what's going on in the communities. It's not the only factor, but it is is one. Dragon?
Well, it's a misconception to most of the population if they think that Bill C5 and the liberalization of consumption of bigger drugs are just implemented in Ontario or Vancouver, because it's also in Montreal. So, I mean, you're going to see that pretty much everywhere. And I'm just reading as you were talking, because I was making some research at the same time about Montreal gangs and cartels and such. And you got a Mexican cartel in Montreal also that, they are providing our drugs. So it's true that you got a cartels, that is proliferating probably from the U.S. And actually, if you go back to March 28th, if I'm not mistaken, of 2019, you had some people getting killed, and even more recently, it was on August. No, sorry, wasn't on. Was on a January 3, 2025. We got there some update about some ladies that got killed back in May of 2023, according to some cartels and stuff like that. So, I mean, it's all related, kind of from close or, indirectly. So, yeah, I mean, there's a huge problem. And, I can probably just give you an idea for those who knows Montreal much. St. Catherine, which is pretty long street, right? From where I stand, I could take my camera, probably walk like half an hour, 40 minutes long on the whole street, and you'll see like a bunch of crackos or people addicted to other drugs. And I mean, I just go out and I get all day long asked for if I sell some stuff or whatever. I just went on the like yesterday. I went to ASAQ just to make a little mini video, right? See if I can see some American brand, right, for the tariff and stuff like that, and make probably a story about it. And as I come out, there's a guy who comes right away on to me and asks if I sell crack. I mean, seriously, I mean, it's things like that daily. So, I mean, it's a problem. So, yeah, we need to probably do something about it, and quick. And probably Trump will back off on its 25% tariff also.
The tariffs don't have squat to do with the drugs, Dragon, in my view. That's the legal justification for imposing the tariffs. It's a misdirection. It's not really about that at all.
Yeah, well,
but it's
true.
And the thing is, and here's the other reason why
the drugs are a problem.
Yeah, the drugs are a problem, but the drugs that are being exported from Canada are not going. The fentanyl is not going to the United States. It's going to Europe and it's going to Asia. It's going to other countries around the world. It's being exported out to other countries, not to the United States. The reason for it, certainly not the stuff coming in through the Mexican drug cartels, as sort of indirectly inferred by Mr. Navarro yesterday. We do have Mexican drug cartels up here, but they're here to intercept and take in the drugs that are coming from the United States into Canada, not drugs going from Canada to the United States, the fentanyl. Okay? Because the fentanyl that's coming from the United States, that comes into Canada, the precursors come in through airports and ports in Canada, and the other stuff is coming up through the United States or from Mexico through the United States and then into Canada, and then it's getting processed up here and then shipped out to Europe and Asia. And it makes no sense for the stuff to come up here to Canada to be processed, and then they don't turn around and then ship it back to the United States. You don't ship fentanyl from the U.S. into Canada and then turn around, like from Mexico to the U.S. to Canada via Mexican drug cartels. No, and then ship it back to the United States. Why would you do that? It doubles your risk at the border. It makes no sense. It's not true.
Yep.
That's not really what's going on. This idea that's been planted in people's heads, it's upside down with regard to the fentanyl, okay? And there is a small amount, but it's like less than 1% of all the fentanyl getting into the United States is coming from Canada. The drug problem at the Canada-US border, the fentanyl problem, it's the fentanyl coming into Canada that's the problem. So this is upside down land. But nevertheless, sure, let's crack down on it. And it is a problem. We have tent cities. That's because, largely in part, because of chemical dependency and turning people into non-functional citizens. They can't hold down jobs. They can't function in society because they're heavily addicted. And fentanyl is a terrible, evil, evil drug. And folks, you can join the conversation at 1-613-778-2684. Then just enter that PIN number, 367-312-888 when prompted. And you can join the conversation. Love to have you on tonight and join us with this phone system to make sure that it's going to work well for people. I'm interested in your thoughts and feedback on that tonight as well. And Dragon, how do you find the phone system? Was it easy to log in tonight?
Yeah, well, I had to just make sure that I did memorize the 9 numbers and punch the dial at the end. So yeah,
well,
but it's really easy to access.
And it's scrolling on the screen anyways, so if you want to join, you can just leave the feed up, turn your audio down, dial the number, and then when prompted, just punch in the PIN number at the end there and hit the pound sign, and it prompts you to do that. So then you can dial right in and join the conversation. Let's take a little break. We'll run that number again so that everybody knows how to dial in. Let's give this phone system a workout and make sure it's going to work well. And for those of you who are not calling in but just viewing, let me know in the chat if this is working well for you. Is the audio clear? Is the volume okay? How does it sound for you tonight? Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call now, 1-519-401-1373. 1-519-401-1373. Exercise your right to free speech. That's 1-519-401-1373. That's 1-519-401-1373. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
And folks, you can support the channel by donating at freedomreporters.com. Help us cover the bills and cover the subscription costs for this phone system, which we have been using, as well as all the other expenses that we incur to run this program. Like, share, subscribe, and if you could give us a thumbs up tonight, that would be fantastic. I hope we've earned that as well. And if you are subscribing over on the YouTube channels, please hit the notification bells so that you're notified when we post a new video. And let me just see here in the chat. Is the phone system working pretty good? Says the just me
everyone
says
saying on the Rumble that everything's fine.
Okay, yeah.
No static.
So working pretty good. Only a couple of calls so far tonight, though. I wonder if that's because people are having trouble figuring out how to use it or not. I mean, I think it's pretty simple. You just dial the phone number, and then there's an automated system that comes on. It prompts you to just dial that PIN number and just punch in the PIN, and in you go. Did you find it easy enough, Dragon, or was it difficult?
Well, I actually, it took me 2 attempts to figure it out. But yeah, basically, guys, just to give you an idea, you press, you get the phone number there. You're going to hear a beep. Once you hear the beep, you do the 367-312-888 and then the dial thing. And it's going to get you on the line right next to me. So, I mean, we're going to be able to even speak together, guys.
Yeah.
That's going to be fun.
Cool. Okay.
A real conversation.
And I think the audio quality is much better than it has been doing it the previous way. Would you not agree, folks? I think it is better. There's no static this way at all. We've been getting static, and this is... And no, it's not pay by the minute, Pooh Bear. There's no charge for these calls at all to anybody calling in. So it's actually a Google number, so they don't charge you a fee. And
yeah, totally free.
Yeah, so you don't have to worry about that. And what else can I tell you about the system? It's less expensive than the old phone system that we used to use, which was extremely expensive. It cost a lot of money to run that other system. But this system, the monthly fees are much, much lower, and it helps get everybody on the line and helps give you guys a voice. This is about you. It's to give you guys a voice. So I hope that I hope it's something that works for you. Take advantage of it. It's right there for you. It's right there.
Yeah, better take advantage of it now, because tomorrow, probably too late.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's exactly right. So I guess Trudeau is going to hold a Canada-U.S. summit on trade this Friday. He's going to assemble Canadian trade and business leaders along with organized labor to discuss strategies to grow the economy and talk about ways that we might break down internal trade barriers, those being barriers to trade between provinces, and also they're searching for ways to diversify exports. That, of course, is something that has been highlighted as a major vulnerability for Canada in the last week because of Trump's threat of tariffs. We're also going to see members of the Council on Canada-U.S. Relations, which advises Trudeau on bilateral relations as well, taking part in this. And who else do we have on the line with us now? Who's there?
Hey, this is a Meatball Auditor.
Well, welcome to the program. What's on your mind tonight?
I guess what I kind of wanted to just discuss was as soon as Trump announced the tariffs on Canada and Mexico, we saw the booing at the basketball games, the hockey games.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of the time we forget that America is really divided in even how they voted.
Yes.
And we sometimes lump all Americans together as being like huge Trump supporters. And I found myself attacking Americans, like, not physically, but like verbally, I guess. And I've kind of tempered myself. And I just think that it's important for people to understand and realize that a lot of Americans are just as disgusted as some people in Mexico and Canada and around the world now. You know, it's like people keep on saying that Trump's playing chess and you guys are stuck playing checkers. But like, we're all trying to play chess and Trump is playing Risk and nobody else wants to play Risk with him.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
So I know I've been getting kind of frustrated with that. And then on the other hand, with our own problems here in Canada, like people won an election, we can't have an election. Trudeau says he's stepping down, but not until we have our leadership race. And then an unelected person is looking like they're going to win the Liberal leadership, and they're going to be prime minister for a time. It's like we've been held hostage for so long. Like the hope and everything is just getting like beaten out of us, like on the daily. And you know, like people that are interested in this stuff are not doing themselves any favors either by like, we're trying to get the most current news, and it's like we bombard ourselves with all this crazy like bullshit that we have no control over. And it's like, it's really easy for you to like turn into like an exploder. It's like you just like store it all up and then just explode. So we have to remember that like our politicians are not really having a release valve on the Canadian public. And, you know, we have to monitor ourselves very closely and, you know, keep our heads on a swivel because something could kick off. You never know, you know?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You're quite right. I mean, the United States is very divided. And for those people who want to join the U.S., if they're down with that idea, I would say be careful what you ask for, because when I look south of the border, I see a situation that is much worse than what I see in Canada, a country that's much more deeply divided and in a way that is much more emotional and even more likely, I think, to erupt into some sort of possible violence at times. What I see on the streets down there is much more violent overall than what we see in Canada. It's I no thank you. You know, I love the U.S., but we have our own problems up here. What they have down there, in my view, is even more difficult to deal with. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I guess that kind of from what I've observed is that like even talking to some of my nephews, they're younger, you know, like in their early 20s. They are gung-ho for, they think Trump is great. Yeah, let's become the 51st state. And, you know, they're libertarian and like, you know, it's all good. Why would we rock the boat? And I've been trying to explain to them like this, you know, I understand that this is the only leader that you've basically ever known in your whole life. And our parliamentary system can work effectively, and it has before. It's been a long time. It's been a long, tough 9 years. And, you know, it's going to be hard to dig ourselves out of this hole. And, you know, you have to take every politician with a grain of salt, too, you know, like I can't tell you how many people would say, oh, I thought they were my guy and they let me down. But when you start noticing politicians doing the wrong thing and you still start propping them up, it's like you're caught up. Oh, I've gone too far. I can't lose face now. I have to I have to prop them up no matter what. That's when things get even worse. And it's like you start perpetuating the nonsense. So I've been trying to explain to my nephew, like, this is all you've known. Like, give it a chance. It can be fixed. It's going to be a long, hard haul, but there's hope,
I'm with you 100%. We have somebody else who just joined us too. Who just came into the chat there? Go ahead.
It's Trumpinator.
Trumpinator. Welcome to the program.
Hey, what's going on?
Well, you tell me. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that Canada doesn't check the shipping containers that come into its ports.
Yeah, does the U.S.
And
check?
a lot of the drugs.
Does the U.S. check
and
all
a lot
of its
of the
shipping
drugs-
containers?
The shipping containers that
Yeah.
come into the ports,
Yeah,
they don't get checked.
yeah.
So how can you know if they're drugs on those containers or not?
I guess what I would say is that you guys keep on hammering the drum like, we don't need your business anyways. You guys are such a small potato in our world. We don't need anything from you. So why do you care if what comes in our shipping containers? Like, we should be checking more, but it has such a little effect on you that, like,
Why do we
barking
care?
up.
Why do we
Pardon me?
care? Why do we care? Because there are probably drugs in those containers.
Yeah,
Like
well,
fentanyl.
probably don't get us anywhere. We have to know what's in the containers. I'm with you, man. We should be checking
So check
like all the containers.
So check them.
The average Joe Blow taxpayer citizen wants these things to happen.
Mm-hmm. So if you have a bag of fentanyl, right? Or look, these are some seizures, fentanyl seizures I just brought up from Google. So you have massive number of shipping containers coming into any country at any given time. If you think that you're going to snag, if you think you're going to snag all of the illegal drugs coming into any country, you've got another thing coming. That's like, just think back to the Prohibition era. Were they able to stop booze? You couldn't stop it flowing over the borders. Certainly not over the Canada-US border.
Didn't Al Capone move his bootlegging operation up to Winnipeg? And he had he ran his bootlegging empire from here in Canada.
He did.
It's not like they keep on saying, oh, it's not a two-way street. It's like our economies are so tied together that, we need to check more containers. You need to check more containers. We need to do more for military spending. Like a lot of these things, nobody is disputing these things. It's like our suit dummies that were elected or selected are not representing the people and their wishes. That's the real problem.
You're never going to be able to intercept things just simply by inspecting all the containers. It's not realistic. What needs to happen is better intelligence, surveillance, which a lot of people don't want, especially if you believe in freedom. You don't want domestic surveillance. But if you want to crack down on drugs, you need a better strategy to identify who the organized criminals are, the drug dealers, so that you can crack down on them. I just don't see how it's practical to try to intercept. Like you obviously need some inspection at the border, but my God, the volume of traffic going over the border every day. Can you imagine if they were stopping every transport truck at the Ambassador Bridge on a daily basis to do a thorough inspection inside every sack, every box that's sealed, right? I mean, the lengths they'll go to hide the stuff. They're putting it inside containers that are sealed up, and you need x-ray. Like, I mean, it's not possible. It just isn't. Drug sniffing dogs and everything else. You need to identify people who are high risk and then, concentrate your efforts. This idea that's why I say, I think that what's going on here right now is it's a show. We're going to spend $1 billion plus and have a bunch of guys in body armor running around out in the woods someplace, or maybe at the borders for photo ops, but they're really not going to make much of a difference. That's not, in my view, really the effective way to deal with the problem. You guys, what do you think?
Well,
Yeah,
if you want to know my perspective real quick. Oh, sorry.
Well, go ahead, Dragon. You've started, so go ahead.
All right. So, real quick, if you want to make a statement about the bootlegging of the 1920s, Montreal was actually also a big stretch of it because it was part of the Lucky Luciano's and Al Capone base operation, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah.
And just one quick little fact here. Recent seizures at the police of Montreal made in July 2024 over 11.5 kilogram suspected cocaine that was intercepted in the old port of Montreal, and also 123 kilogram of cannabis. So yeah, and that's a lot of money value on the street. So we do have, a certain security border here and probably port management. But like Rick said, it's really complicated to intercept everything from to the port. So.
Okay, Mavericks, it's call-in time. Join the conversation. Call now, 1-519-401-1373. One 519-401-1373. Exercise your right to free speech. That's 1-519-401-1373. That's 1-519-401-1373. Maverick News. Call now. The world is watching and listening to you. And that is actually the old number, which is still the current number, and we have somebody on that line right now. So go ahead, calling from New Mexico. Who's on the line? Are you still there?
Am I on?
You're on. Go ahead. Floor is yours.
It's John.
Hey, John.
Hey, where are the other two guys? Is there a delay on the show?
Well, no, they called in on the new phone system, which is a different number, and you're calling in on the other system. We're trying out a new phone system tonight, but it's okay. You just go ahead and say what you want.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know.
Yeah, it's okay.
I want to say Trump can go fuddle-duddle himself.
Okay.
Yeah, this thing with, well, two things. I wanted to say how much I'm disappointed with Trump over this Gaza thing, and then I wanted to tell you how much, how evil you Canadians are.
Okay.
Trump, and I gotta defend my country, but you have great maple syrup. Yeah, this thing with Gaza is terrible. This is not, there's nothing good about this. There's nothing about making America great again about this. This is simply Trump bowing to his Jewish donors that he received in the lead up to this election. That Adelson widow, she was his biggest donor, and she's dyed-in-the-wool Zionist, and this is just payment to her. Plus, Trump is in big with Zionists. His son-in-law powerful Zionist family that's very well connected with the upper echelons in Israel. And this is just bad. This is just a bad thing. It's not okay to steal Palestinians' lands, number one. Number two, it's not okay to put, because they've already committed, they were asked if they would commit American soldiers, and if you just think logically, they'd have to, because Hamas isn't just going to go away. The Palestinians aren't just going to go away. Those people, they'll go through anything. They want to keep their lands. And they've been there for thousands of years. People can say Palestine doesn't exist all they want, but when Christ was born, people that are alive today, their descendants were living in those lands in the Levant. People in Israel, they weren't. Those people came from Europe. But they've already said that they would commit American soldiers if need be, and they said, and I mean, how much is that going to cost? He says, we're going to own it. Well, that's just to trick stupid Americans into thinking that this is about making America, that, oh, we'll own it. Oh, no, we're not going to own it. That means we're going to pay for everything. We're going to pay like we always do. We're going to go ahead and put forth the most amount of blood and the most amount of treasure. More of our boys are going to die, and it's all going to be to benefit Israel. It's all going to be to benefit greater Israel. And Israel is, and it's not just America's enemy, it's Canada's enemy, it's the world's enemy. It's dragging this world into chaos. Now, you seem to think that America is the great Satan, Rick. It's not. It's Israel.
I never said that America was the great Satan. Don't put words in my mouth. I never, ever, even one time in my life have I said that.
Well, you make it seem like that. And then, okay, so
No.
Now to attack you, now to fight with you Canadians. So you're trying to make stuff first. Canada is a wonderful country, okay, with wonderful people, and there's a lot of wonderful things about it. But you're trying to make it sound like Canada is just Mayberry and America is just Bedlam, and that's nonsense.
I didn't say that either.
No.
I didn't say that.
That's my impression of what you're talking about.
Oh, well, I'm sorry if I left you with that impression, because that's not what I
Did you or did
at
you,
all.
hold on, did you or did you not say that you look down at America, and not like look down from where you're at, because you guys are higher than us, you know?
Yeah.
But you look at America and you're like, you see that we have way more problems. That is nonsense, Rick. And
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not nonsense.
No, it is nonsense. You were talking about the drug thing, and you're trying to make it sound like, all the cartels are in Dragon too. Trying to make it sound like, the cartels are in Canada, just because of the American operations, and it has nothing to do.
No,
with
that's not what I said. What I'm getting at is that we have a problem, but the problem that we have in Canada does not equate to a U.S. problem. We're not your problem. The drug cartels here are exporting to Europe and Asia. The Canadian drug cartels, the guys here, we're a problem for Europe and Asia, because what they're producing and exporting is going to those markets, not the other way to the U.S.
Canadians are some of the biggest druggies on the planet. It is known all over the world that Vancouver and British Columbia are some of the biggest drug dens in the world. So the drug, not just drug using, but drug manufacturing, and I don't mean just legal either. I mean illegal too. And a brief aside real quick, what's happening in Canada, like you had mentioned earlier, one thing you said I do agree with, you had said that there's been unintended consequences. I don't know how unintended they are. I think personally that politicians take money from these cartels and are working for them. And that's why, for instance, Canada is such a soft touch. But everywhere they legalized marijuana, like they did it in Denver first in America, it's become an asshole. It's become a drug-filled, just homeless people on the street, filthy. Denver used to be a beautiful city. It's very comparable to a lot of places in Canada. It was a beautiful city. It was pristine. It was safe. It was affordable. Now there's needles in the streets, there's drug users, there's violence, there's crime, and that the illicit drug trade, the violence, and all these, like, to use your phraseology, the unintended consequences, they are linked to the legalizing of these drugs. And I believe, and again, just pretending that Canada does not have these problems in immense quantities, they do. And in fact, I would say that Vancouver and British Columbia, per capita wise, percentage wise, with the amount of people you have, is probably worse than a lot of the worst areas that are in America.
Well, I mean, you can give us that impression, but you know, do you have some studies or some stats to back up with source references for us when you're making these claims?
I'll get you something I think that's anecdotal, and I'm going to tell you another anecdotal thing. I believe the reason why Canada is such a soft touch on the border is because your oligarchs, your criminal cartel oligarchs who run Canada, which is not a free nation, it's a corrupt nation, and America is too, but Canada is way, way more corrupt than America. And I would argue it has way more problems. During COVID, you guys were treated like slaves. Nowhere in America were people treated as badly as you Canadians were. And I think your politicians, I think, are working with the cartels. I think they take money from them. And I think that's the reason, like Trumpinator was saying, why they don't check the shipping containers. They're not checking the shipping containers. They're not guarding the border like they should. And they could. I mean, Canada's a first world nation. You have one of the best militaries on the planet. You have some of the best special forces on the planet. They are over in Iraq and Afghanistan, too. You have some of the best law enforcement on the planet. Royal Canadian Mounties are renowned. You guys could shut down that border in a night. But the reason why it's not is because I think your politicians are taking money from the cartels and they're working with them, and that's why drugs are getting into Canada. So, and by the way, fentanyl does not discriminate. It kills Canadians too. It kills Canadians and it kills Americans. So shutting down the border isn't just going to benefit Americans. It's going to benefit Canadian families too, right? And you make it sound like, oh, this is just an American problem, and Canada has no responsibility to
What's up, Mike?
shut down the border. We're a sovereign nation. Well, guess what?
Okay.
America's a bigger country
Well,
than Canada, and Trump is making it your problem. You don't think the border's your problem? Trump is making it your problem.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell. Well, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. All right. Hey. Okay. Listen, you've been on for 11 minutes and 15 seconds, and we're going to move on so we can let other people speak. Thanks for the call tonight. Appreciate it. Emotional. Okay. Back to you. I'm sorry, I forgot. Who else do we have on the line? Not Dragon, the other gentleman.
Oh, Meatball Auditor.
Right. Yeah. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
I guess one thing I wanted to touch on was how our economy has really been limited. Like, we can't get things built. There's bureaucracy in the way. People that are concerned about the environment. We have First Nations that seem to hold all the power in our nation. We can't do anything without kissing 15 rings in this country. But one thing that I could say that might be effective, actually two things, is if there was a pipeline that was built all along the base of our country from coast to coast, it would be the most secure pipeline in the world. Pipelines generally are very well protected, and I think that both of our nations would actively protect it, and it would act as a barrier for a lot of nefarious activities.
What do you mean? What do you mean a barrier? What do you mean a barrier for nefarious activity? What do you mean by that?
I guess that I just imagine a pipeline like going all along the border, and then whoever the investors are that have facilitated this pipeline will have their own. We'll have a Canadian, military, and we'll have private security groups, and we'll have people that are trying to protect their investment. and there basically will be people posted along it all the time, and it will just inadvertently notice suspicious activities along that whole stretch of land.
I don't know. It's such a vast country. It's a massive length of geography to cover, much longer than even the Canada-Mexico border, and a lot of it covered in wilderness. It's a lot of it's protected just because it's the environment is too hostile to get across. But
that could be true. That could be true. The other thing that I was thinking is that even from Alberta to BC, if they could finally get the pipeline built there, but some of the profits could be used from that pipeline being allowed, I guess, to be in BC to the tide waters, could be used to hire thousands more CBSA or people that could check more containers. You know, the ports will be a new bustling hotbed, and they can get a lot of people out there to proactively work in everybody's best interests on the West Coast.
Yeah, well, there's such a volume of traffic at the border crossings that it simply is not practical to go through and inspect every transport truck crossing over. I'm just going to look up some stats here. I mean, how familiar are you with border crossings? Have you ever, or do you cross the border very much into the U.S.?
No, I've crossed the border before. I haven't had any issues. I know that our First Nations people here in Canada cross the border unimpeded because of their status. And I don't know if that's working for anybody's benefit other than themselves. I guess I would say that not so much even they want to get these pipelines built to Irving on the East Coast, and they want to open up these new markets.
Yeah.
If they're honestly trying to get these things done, it's going to open up a lot of wealth, and a lot of that wealth can be used for national security and positive things to, make things safer and stop drugs and different things,
Mm-hmm. Well, just at the Ambassador Bridge alone, between Windsor and Detroit, as between 8,000 and 10,000 trucks. This is just trucks, transport trucks, cross the bridge every day. That's just the transport trucks. That's not cars.
No. And how many of those trucks coming from America are we checking? Or vice versa. Obviously we're not checking, either country is not checking a vast majority of these vehicles. It's impossible, right?
Yeah. And I mean, in fairness, only a small percentage is actually pulled over to secondary. So, and that is, I think, also largely because the transport trucks go through, I mean, they kind of know where these trucks are going and coming and going to and from before they even get to the border. And then they have paperwork on everything so they can see if everything's in check, right? And then you have, weigh stations and all kinds of other ways that they kind of keep tabs on where all of these trucks are, heading to and from. So they're kind of almost pre-cleared in many ways before they even get to the border. But but that being said, it's if you were stopping every truck to then go through it with a physical and even electronic inspection with dogs and scanners and customs officers opening containers, ripping things out, 10,000 trucks a day, transport trucks, loaded front to back, there's no way. You'd never get the traffic over the border each day. It's not logistically possible.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know. There's no easy solution. I guess that 2 helicopters and some drones, I don't think are gonna get much done. And like everything in our country, it's always like projected. It's like, oh, we want to have this done by 2030 or 8 years from now, we're going to be at this percentage of our spending. It's like we have to have firm things happening now. Like these 8-10 years from now is not going to work. Not only for Mr. Trump, but for Canadians on the whole. I think that people are like really frustrated that we send a lot of money in taxes and we seem to be getting very little in return.
Yes, and even today with Mark Carney saying on his campaign stop that Canada, he pledges that if selected by the Liberal Party to be the next leader and therefore the temporary Prime Minister, that he'll make sure that Canada reaches the 2% NATO spending target by 2030. I don't think that's going to impress anybody, certainly not Trump. Trump won't theoretically even be in office in 2030 at that point. So that's too little and coming way too late, and we need to address these things much quicker than that. So that's my view. Yours?
Yeah, I guess, I don't know, like I did listen to that press conference today from Mr. Carney, and he was saying like Canadians want change and I'm offering change and change. And it's like, yeah, change way down the line. We want an election. We don't want you to be installed and not elected.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is true, but he was running in Edmonton where Mr. Randy Boissonneau's riding is. But I've heard that he's not in that riding anymore. Maybe he's going to be running in Ottawa now. Do you know anything about that?
No, I didn't hear that he was maybe going to flip ridings. Is that...
That's what I heard today, that he's actually not going to be pursuing his Edmonton riding anymore.
Oh.
Even though he went to school here and went to university on a hockey scholarship, and he's a good old Canadian boy,
Well, I'm sure they're trying to find a riding for him where he'll be safe and easily elected, a Liberal stronghold. I'm not sure is Edmonton, is that riding like normally Liberal?
It was Randy Boissonneau, the other Randy, the guy that was caught up in
the name scandal.
His partner, they had cut themselves a bunch of COVID deals, and they had their PPE company getting contracts through COVID, and then their warehouse burned down. And I think that there's like a handful, I think over 10 open investigations into Mr. Boissonneau.
Yes.
But
is it normally a riding that votes Liberal? Was it like a one-off?
It was a Liberal riding where he was running. Yeah.
Well,
like primarily Edmonton is like one of the only NDP strongholds. It was where Rachel Notley ran.
Right.
And since she's retired, the ex-mayor of Calgary, Mr. Nenshi, is going to be running as the Liberal leader here in Alberta.
I see. Well, I don't know. I think that any Liberal right now would probably be safer out in Ontario someplace than out in any place in Alberta. I think the Liberals are in a lot of trouble out there in Alberta.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Well,
anyways, Rick, I just wanted to call in. I didn't want to take up too much time. I've been loving the conversation, and it's I guess as a parting word, I would say that I am actively trying to restrain my tongue and opinion on a lot of things. Everything is just so liquid right now.
Yeah.
That not that Mr. Trump can put Pandora in the box again, but we can all do our part to be civil and deal with it on the daily, I guess.
Yes, and thank you very much for calling in tonight. Great comments as always. I always really appreciate you calling. Very intelligent commentary.
For sure.
I appreciate it. All right.
You got it, Rick. Take care.
All right, see ya. And Dragon, I'll throw it over to you for a final thought from you before we go to our final segment tonight, which is going to be dad jokes. But go ahead.
Oh, well.
Give us a final thought.
Well, keep following me on the Twitter because I'm daily there and doing my little funny jokes or comment like you hear me sometime doing here with my Frenchy accent and grammar. So hope you're going to enjoy all of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, keep going, guys. Stay positive and just keep grinding.
All right.
Take care.
Thanks, Dragon. Great night. Phone system's working pretty well. Better than I thought it would, actually. So that's very encouraging. We'll continue to use that in the nights ahead. We have a special guest coming up on February 19th. Michael Bator of the People's Party of Canada is going to join us for a kind of a special broadcast. We're going to simulcast out on a number of channels, all at the same time. This being sort of the hub where we're going to do everything will originate here, the production, and then it's going to be shared out over a number of other channels that are not ours. And then it'll be an opportunity for you to learn more about Michael Bator, one of the, I would say, most prominent, if not the most prominent PPC candidate in Canada, aside from Maxime Bernier himself. Michael has been on the program before, and that's why I'm really trying out this new phone system, because we're going to give you guys an opportunity to call in and speak directly to him that night. So that'll be on February 19th. Special broadcast. We're going to be promoting it in advance. And I hope that everybody can join us. And yeah, the phone system's working pretty well. Now, that being said, there are expenses associated with running this channel. That system through Google actually costs us money every month as well. It's not free, and the costs are mounting, and I'm just going to be straight up. We need some help. So if you like what we do, where we try to give a variety of opinions and a voice to people, especially people who are otherwise voiceless, and while we try to get people closer to the truth, we need help doing it. I can't do it alone, and you can donate at freedomreporters.com. freedomreporters.com. Now, if you donate $30 or more, I will send you a t-shirt if you would like one. $45 or more, and I can send you a polo shirt with a embroidered logo like this one. They're quite nice and they're high quality. Or I can, for $60 donation or more, I will send you a Maverick News hoodie. We have those in stock as well. You can have them in any color you want as long as it's black. And just tell me what size you need. When you make the donation, there's a place to send a message, and I'd be happy to send that out as a thank you for the donation. So I really, really appreciate all of that. I appreciate all of you, and I really appreciate my dad. When I was testing the phone system, I phoned my parents, and I spoke with my dad, and I said, hey, I'm checking out this phone system. And people loved when you were on the program before and you told jokes. My dad is like a joke encyclopedia. I don't know how he does it. He just has all these jokes memorized, and he gets joke books and he memorizes the jokes and then makes changes to them. And people ask him to tell jokes at weddings and family gatherings all the time. And since you guys are like family, I thought, I recorded a little interlude with my father, an exchange where he shared some laughter with me, and I'm going to share it with you because this is a family occasion. Here's my dad with tonight's Bad Dad Jokes segment. Well, I've got you on the phone and I'm testing this phone system. Why don't you tell me a joke today that I can use on my show?
I don't know. You got to use a kind of a clean joke. Yeah?
Kinda, yeah. You have to keep it kind of clean, yeah.
Yeah. Let me think. There was like the kind of kooky, but you got a couple of guys sitting in a sauna. And one fellow said to the other fellow, my wife is really an angel. The other guy said to him, you're lucky. Mine's still alive.
Oh, jeez. That's not. Tell me something nicer than that. That's kind of too dark.
Yeah, look. No. The guy was home from. The guy was home. The guy was at work and he said to his buddy, I had to take yesterday off because I wasn't feeling very well. He said, I didn't realize my wife was so excited to have me at home. She loves me so much. She was so excited to have me here. And the guy said, why, what makes you say that? Well, he said, like every time the mailman came at the door or the FedEx guy was delivering something, she'd holler, my husband is home, my husband is home.
Yep. Well, I'm glad she loves him that much. That's okay. Well, those are pretty good jokes. I don't know how you remember all those jokes. How do you remember all those jokes?
I have no idea. No idea.
That's my dad. Your dad too tonight. I miss Ronald Reagan. He was sort of a father figure, as I said earlier. And now we have Trump, and he seems to want to not just take over the world, but maybe the universe. So tonight, once again, I'm going to leave you with MAGA Mars. And I love you guys. See you tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. We have another special guest who shall remain nameless at the moment, but we have another guest on for tomorrow night, as long as that works out. So lots to look forward to at 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on the flip side.
He's got a plan. It's bold and grand, taking over land. Sea and sand, Canada's ours. Greenland's in the mix. The Panama Canal's just another fix. But Mars, oh Mars, you pesky red sphere, your spying drones are making it clear. It's a threat to Earth, a cosmic sin. But don't worry, folks, he'll make Mars great again. MAGA Mars, you're the 53rd state. Under Trump, your future is great. With Elon Musk and the Space Force too, we're slapping tariffs on your Martian crew. Make Mars great, yeah, make Mars ours. Wave that flag on the red rock stars. We'll impose sanctions, taxes, and fines. Martian exports know they're crossing the line. The Martians cry foul, but Trump doesn't care. He'll build a space wall floating up there. Elon's on board with rockets ablaze. The stock market's loving this Martian craze. He says, trust me, folks, I know the deal. Martian gold is ours, this plan is real. MAGA Mars, you're the 53rd state. Under Trump, your future is great. With Elon Musk and the Space Force too, we're slapping tariffs on your Martian crew. Make Mars great, yeah, make Mars ours. Wave that flag on the red rock stars. Yeah, Mars hotels with golf resorts, intergalactic trade reports, a MAGA dome where Martians bow. We've got the best Martians, Trump says now. Fake news claims the plan's absurd, but Trump tweets back, it's the final word. Martian drones not on my watch. Space Force ready to kick it up a notch. MAGA Mars, you're the 53rd state. Under Trump, your future is great. With Elon Musk and the Space Force too, we're slapping tariffs on your Martian crew. Make Mars great, yeah, make Mars ours. Wave that flag on the red rock stars. So buckle up for the Martian fight. Trump's taking over the Martian night. It's all for freedom, it's all for the win. Oh, say can you see, he'll make Mars great again. Mars great, yeah, make Mars ours. Wave that flag on the red rock stars. So buckle up for the Martian fight. Trump's taking over the Martian night. It's all for freedom, it's all for the win. Oh, say, can you see? He'll make Mars great again.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.